What's up guys, it's your favorite Kiwicoach. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Matthew Wolff's golf swing and why it's matched up. Let's go do this thing.
Clock on red, I made a name for myself. Can't lie, I'm doing well for my age. My dog said they're praying on my downfall. Well, they just choosing the casket, now they souls in the grave. I'm a star right.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you guys are new to Mike's OG Academy, we do a bunch of videos like these every single week. So again, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down there, possibly hit the smash button when you guys, or the smash button, possibly hit the like button when you guys are down there as well. And let's hop into the first part of this video. So I just want to let you guys know we are doing a seminar about the topic of matchups. It's going to be at Greenwich Golf Club. It's going to be in December. So if you guys are interested in the seminar, what I want you guys to go do is go ahead and hit that little link in the description. It's going to be leading you to a Google Docs form where you can fill it out and reserve your spot. Because again, we only have limited spots for this seminar. We wanted to make it a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate, a little bit more personal this time. So go ahead and reserve your spot because they're going to be going very, very quickly. So this is going to be the first part to a three-part video series on Matthew Wolff's golf swing. This first part, we're going to be talking about his iron swing from the down the line view. This is a slow motion swing, so I think we're going to get some really great detail on exactly how he matches up that unique top of swing position and gets himself into a great position 5. Now the second part to this first part is we're going to be talking about what we don't prefer about his golf swing, what we think he actually doesn't quite do as efficiently as he could, and I think it's going to bring some great insight. So let's go hop into the first part, which is talking about that unique top of swing position. So we take Matthew Wolff up to the top of his swing. I think the first thing you guys are going to notice is that his club shaft is very cross the line, right? That just means that if we drew an arrow like this right at the butt end of the club and drew it perpendicular to the ground, that just means from our view it's pointed to the right of that line. If he was on that line, that would be quote unquote on plane. If he was a little bit left of that line, that's going to be more so the laid off club shaft position. Now with this cross the line top of swing position, what is he going to have to do to get himself into position, hit the golf ball good from here? Because let's just think about this common sense wise. If he stayed crossed and he swung down, the club face would be pointing very far left and he'd be coming in from the severe right side of the golf ball and he'd be hitting low hooks essentially, right? And he wouldn't be on the PGA Tour because again, we need to be hitting the ball pretty high on the PGA Tour and we cannot be hitting 60-yard hooks as well when you're out there on the tour. So we're going to be talking about what he does with the elbow, what he does to lay down the shaft to get him into a position 5 to where he can actually hit the golf ball and the club head's not too far in front of him. So the first thing I want to take note of is going to be his backswing pivot and how it sets him up to get into a good position 5. So let me explain this concept of hip depth. So hip depth essentially is how much the hips have churned. So if your hips don't churn quite a bit, logic is going to tell us that it's going to be easier for them to be more open at impact. If the hips churn quite a bit, it's going to be harder to get them open at impact, right? You're going to have to churn them faster and sooner to get them open at impact. Now, the reason why Matthew Wolff has a lot of hip churn is because of this cross the line position. See, if he had little to no hip churn and he was cross the line and he started to shallow the club and churn his hips open, by the time the club shaft got anywhere near into a decent position, his hip line would be so far open that he'd be swinging low and left. And again, we probably would have never heard of him if he was doing that. But George Gankis obviously is a great golf coach. So what he did with Matthew Wolff was he made sure that he had plenty of hip depth or churned his hips more. So this next section in the video, we're going to talk about how he churned the hips more. And we're going to be talking about basically his lead heel as well as the lead knee. So if we zoom in on the lead knee and the lead heel, first off, I want to talk about the heel, which it's up off the ground, right? So the reason why George is allowing him to do this is because it's actually allowing him to do two things. The first thing, it's allowing him to get a lot of hip churn or a lot of hip depth in the backswing. The second thing it's going to allow him to do is give him some type of trigger move in transition to start his downswing, I think, with a little bit better timing. So the first thing, let's talk about that lead heel. So it's up off the ground and it's also tilted in this way. So what I want you guys to do real quick is I want you guys to plant both feet on the ground and churn your hips as much as you possibly can. Now the second swing, I want you to lift the heel up off the ground and churn it this way slightly, and then churn your hips more. Again, like I just said, you're probably going to notice you can actually get more hip churn or more hip depth when your heel actually works off the ground. This is something we teach to a lot of our players who are not as mobile, who can't churn as much with a normal pivot. I think it's great for you guys out there if you want to get more hip depth, which for a lot of you guys out there in Japan, I would say that's probably something you guys want to do. Now, second, when we take a look at the lead heel, or excuse me, not the lead heel, the lead knee, it's actually doing something called internally rotating. Now, internally rotating just means the kneecap is moving to the right from the face-on view. So if we looked at it from the face-on view, like I am looking at this camera right now, it's basically the knee's working this way. Now, also at the same time, his knee is working towards the golf ball, which is something you probably heard us say that we don't prefer with our students, and we're going to talk about in the future why we don't think this is actually the best move for him. But again, this is pretty much the knee moving into internal rotation and the heel coming off the ground and turning this way. Those two combined are allowing him to get plenty of hip depth, which again is allowing him enough time to start shouting out the golf club. So let's go talk about how his transition is matched up. All right, guys, so now you pretty much have a great idea of what he's doing in his backswing to set him up to have that cross the line position and then give him some time to shout out the golf club. Now it's time to actually dig into the details of what's actually causing that club shaft to shallow out as excessively as his has to, because again, remember, if he was crossed and he swung down, that's that low hook. So we need to get that club shaft really laying down really quickly for him to be in a position where he can actually hit the golf ball relatively consistent. So let's go take a look at his elbow move, because I think this is one of the big macro ideas that is allowing him to shout out the club efficiently. All right, so on the screen right now, currently, you're gonna see a big circle, and then you're gonna see an arrow kind of tilted diagonally down. Now, all this is gonna represent really is how his elbow is moving in transition. Where is it currently moving? Is it moving behind him? Is it moving in front of him? And then how does that translate to the club shaft laying down? So first off, let's kind of play it through real quick. So as you can see, the point of his elbow is going downwards as well as kind of horizontally out towards the golf ball at the same time. So it's going in this fashion. Now, there's two things that does. The first thing, when the elbow works in that fashion, it actually gets the elbow in front of the body again, right? And you guys have been watching my videos, so you know that when the elbow gets behind the body, we get into a lot of trouble. So that's the first facet to that elbow move, or the external rotation of that elbow. It gets the elbow in front of the body. Now the second thing it does, as you see that elbow kind of working down and out towards the golf ball, we're also seeing that club shaft really lay down. So how is that happening? Well, when my elbow externally rotates, I want you to focus on the palm of my hand real quick, and then watch what happens as I get the elbow in front and externally rotate it. Notice how the palm of my hand went facing the camera to actually facing this way. Now, what that translates to the club shaft, it actually is laying down the club shaft, right? So that's the shallowing motion. So if I can get the elbow to externally rotate early, like he has to because he's so crossed, that's gonna get the club shaft laying down early, and then that's gonna get him into a position where he's not way on top of the ball with the club head. And when I say way on top, that just means the club head's in front of the hands all the way down. It's actually starting to get behind the hands, which is where you want to be when you want to hit good shots. Because again, if you get the club head too far in front of the hands really early in transition, you're either going to want to try to reroute it late, or you're going to just swipe across it, right? So again, this is exactly what he's doing to match up his top of the swing position. It's that elbow externally rotating, going down and out, which is allowing that forearm and wrist to supinate and get that club shaft to lay down. All right, so to start this section off on what I don't prefer about Matthew Wolff's golf swing, I think we need to start with his trigger move, because this really explains a lot with what he's trying to do in his golf swing. So with Matthew Wolff's trigger move, he's notorious for that little preset where he opens up the hips and then he goes back and then he starts to swing, right? So what is that preset allowing him to try to feel? Well, it's allowing him to feel like he's getting more open. If you also notice when he does that trigger move, he tries to get his head moving with the ball, or actually looking away from the golf ball early to make sure that he's getting the chest out of the shot, right? That's something him and George Gankis have worked on quite a bit with, is making sure the chest is not stalling around impact and that it's continuing to churn. So keeping that in mind, I think his trigger move is actually leading to a lot of the issues that I see at the bottom of his golf swing, It's because I think he's trying to open the hip line too early. So if you guys know what I talk about, you guys probably have heard me talk about over-rotation. For me, over-rotation is really the sequencing between the sternum and the belt buckle. So what I see with Matthew Wolff is I see the belt buckle very open to the target line, or really open this way, or really rotated, and I see the chest not so much rotated. There's a big dislocation between the two, which is part of the reason why he hits the golf ball far, but also why I think part of the reason why he kind of gets a little stuck at the bottom of the swing, and he has to do this little motion where he kind of pulls away from the golf ball to make sure that he can actually hit the ball. So let's go show you that real quick. So the first thing I want you guys to notice is we're going to draw a line on the hip line, and I want you guys to kind of watch what he does when he comes down. So he gets to right around here, we can really start seeing that belt buckle start opening up to the target. And right around position 5, he gets into a pretty normal position relative to a lot of players who are trying to hit a cut. You almost want to see the body line square or parallel to the ball target line if you're trying to hit that cut motion. Now, what I don't like from here is we start seeing the chest is going to start slowing down and the pelvis line is going to start extending. And from here, he starts getting a little stuck. Notice this. See how he starts extending that pelvic line? And then he stops rotating the chest. And he's really kind of relying on from this point. So why is this the case? Well, first off, the main reason why I think this is the case is because I think he's opening up the hip line too early, and it has to start, again, like I said, with his trigger move where he tries to open up the hip line. What I think Matthew Wolff should work on is I think he needs to maintain depth or maintain the hip line not opening up as quick in transition and almost feel like it stays closed for a little bit longer as the chest rotates in front of it. So for him, his feeling is that the chest beats the hips to the golf ball, or the chest is going to be open to the ball target line and the hips are going to be closed, right? That's an exaggerated feel. He doesn't want to do that in real life because he's going to have some big issues if he does. But he's so far the other way where the chest is this way and the belt buckle is pointed left to the target, then I think he needs to get a little bit more connected, especially with his irons, so he doesn't have to stall out the chest and pull away from the shot when he starts getting into the golf ball. So for him, as you can see, so he starts extending the pelvis. And if we draw a line on his head too, you're going to start seeing what I'm talking about here. You're going to see how he starts to pull away from the golf ball and extend, right? And then he gets a little flippy through here, right? See how the right hand's overtaking the left right here? So again, I think if he wants to get a little bit more proficient with his golf swing, which I think George has probably worked on him with him before or is trying to work on this, in transition, instead of opening up the belt buckle as quickly, I think he needs to feel like it maintains some depth in transition or stays almost closed a little bit longer, and he needs to speed up the chest rotation. If he can do that, I think he's going to get into a position where he doesn't need to have this extension move and pull away move from the golf ball, and he's going to be consistently rotating the chest, which I know with George Gankis is a big part about his golf swing model. He wants his players to continuously move the chest through the shot. And I see a lot of his players who are stalled out at the bottom of the swing kind of have this motion. I'm not sure if he's quite picked up on it yet or not, but I think a lot of them have their hips churning too quick, which gets them over-rotated, which means the belt buckle's pointed too far left, chest too far right, and they really can't rotate through the shot because they're so dislocated. So anyways, guys, that's pretty much the first part of this video. The second part, we're going to be showing his driver swing and talk about what he's doing to generate some power using ground force and all that good stuff. If you guys like this video, make sure to go smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you guys enjoyed. Also as well, again, make sure to check out the link below. We have our seminar about matchups where we're going to be talking a lot more in depth about matchups and really giving you guys a blueprint for your individual golf game on how to use matchups effectively. Again, we're going to have a lot smaller portions of students this time in this next seminar. We're going to a lot more personal, a lot more, I think, beneficial for you as an individual. So again, check out that link, go click it. I'll see you guys in the next video.